Down here on WEMF. I am Pat B. In the house, we have my peoples, my mans for 50 grand from way back in the day. He came to say his name is James and he's here to say
the old 90s rhyme. You would have got a Grammy for that one, bro. Back in the 90s.
That's a daggone shame, dude. I remember. You know what? Hold on. First of all, I'm talking about JM the Thriller Priest.
Yes. It's glad to hear.
Right, and over there, looking very focused, deeply focused, actually doing work. So I'm gonna stay off his back.
That's right. Get off me.
Really?
Ooh.
Really? It's like that?
I'm sorry. You just made me think of another like early 2000 song from Master P. Get off me!
No,
it ain't my fault.
Don't invoke that. Don't invoke that. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Just Johnny. Yo.
This guy over here. And of course, the man on the ones and twos doing interesting things over there before the show, DJ Herbie Herb.
Hey, everybody.
Yo, this dude.
He's all confused, like, hold up, this ain't the regular sound. What's going on?
Yo, we have an action-packed, fun-filled show for you as always. Dude, we're coming in with Violent Love, a new comic from Image Comics. And then we have back again. Metroid Samus Returns. The new remake or reboot. Is it a remake? Is it a reboot? Is it both?
She ain't going nowhere.
It's a remake.
It's a remake?
Yep,
okay, it's a remake
yep.
of the old, was it a Game Boy classic?
The original Game Boy, yeah, the classic.
Yeah. Yep. The original Samus Returns for the 5th time.
Yeah, she keeps coming back.
Seriously, man, can't get away from it. It's like roaches or the Fast and Furious series.
She keeps stomping them out. They keep coming back.
She's unkillable.
Yeah.
All right, and then of course we're going into WWE No Mercy.
Yeah.
This man gonna start throwing chairs.
Something like that.
Or that's how you start fights at the BET Awards.
Just throw a chair.
You go ahead. What's his name? Ike Dirty? Eat dirt.
Eat dirt.
Eat dirt in the side of the head.
The best part is he threw the chair and it was silence and it goes, now I'm mad. I'm bad.
And then we're closing out with the Boston Festival Indie Games. But you mentioned, oh damn, I got something in my I got something in my arm on the radio, y'all.
Those of you on Twitch can see Pat dig it on his eye.
Check it out. Hopefully you're watching us on twitch.tv/The Geek Down. If you're not, you can get on that and actually see the video live streaming right now. But also, you can hear us on SoundCloud, on YouTube, on iTunes. Hopefully, subscribing to all those because good things are happening. I'm going to jump right into it because Violent Love is a comic that not recently came out. It's been out for a while. The latest issue recently came out, and it's an ongoing series from Image Comics. And dude, I'm very enamored with this one. I sent it out to the group. I was hoping to have a whole group thing, and apparently y'all left me hanging.
I read some of it. I thought it was good for what I read. I mean, you're gonna have the more in-depth review of it, but I mean, I thought it was great. It was a nice little throwback, kind of like a Bonnie and Clyde sort of story. I got caught up in the opening, in the backstory is what I got caught up in. It was pretty good from what I saw. I mean, girl named Daisy going through her life, struggling with whether or not she should go to college. She's hating her life. Her pops are trying to walk her through, try to understand that, life's not easy. You got to take opportunities we could get them. And I'm assuming at some point she links up with this guy and they just start running roughshod. So go ahead, Pete. Keep it going.
Well, yeah, no, I'm very enamored with this. It's the story of it's like a Bonnie and Clyde type story with a bunch of twists and turns it throws at you, which is good. The concept is, or it seems as it goes on, to be more about people around them that influence their behavior, and it gets wild. I'm loving this book. I'm plain and simple. It's moving the crap. It's a very delightful read. And I'm very surprised because it seems like your standard. Well, you got a bank robbing team of criminals, and they're harassing the local law enforcement people, and they face. It's like none of that. This could be some Tarantino stuff, and it's gritty. Like that's what I didn't expect. I didn't expect parts of it to be raw.
And I mean, I guess that's my fault for only being in the first half of it, exposing my naivete. It has the appearance of a Tarantino, what could be a Tarantino film easily, but the dialogue at this point seems very hokey. Seems like 90s, like you said, these rascals are robbing banks and wreaking havoc, and it's kind of like, I'm losing interest at this point. But the imagery, there's definitely a lot more gore than I was anticipating. Like the gore versus the dialogue is not matching up at this point. So I'm assuming it picks up based upon what you're saying.
Yeah, it definitely does, and you got to read a lot more. Well, a lot. You got to read more into it because it is one of those stories where it does suffer from a couple of the random tropes that comics do sometimes, especially indie comics, which is unfortunate because it starts off with an origin story. It gives a little taste of the action, but then it goes off into how these characters got where they are, who they are. And that's really a fault of a story that relies on you to care about the characters because we don't know who these people are yet. So if I hadn't decided to stick with it and get to the nitty gritty, it's like, this was a cool panel, but not enough to keep me going. That's unfortunate because when it does pick up, it is just raw. And I appreciate that lack of limitation. It's a book with balls, basically. I'm kind of impressed. Yeah, dude, plain and simple, man. I mean, there's sex scenes, there's random. It's not obscene for the sake of being obscene. Right. It's not vulgar.
Right.
Dialogue is somewhat realistic. And you mentioned it's hokey. I'm not sure if you were fully aware that it takes place in the past.
It does. It does. I caught that.
So the language seems like it's hokey 60s language because it's in the 60s, brother. It's like, I mean, they're not coming in, well, gee willikers, Mr. Carruthers. That's not what we talk about here. Although if they
I was waiting for it, though. You
waiting for the G Willikers, Mr.
Yes, I was. I was waiting for it. I was waiting for some kid with a slingshot in his back pocket. I was waiting for it.
No, this isn't Scooby-Doo with the face. It's like, oh, man, it was old man winners from the old abandoned amusement park. And they pull off. Why the hell were there so many abandoned amusement parks in the 60s?
It's always abandoned amusement parks. I don't know why.
Abandoned amusement park. Someone living in a house that's plainly old and haunted. Like that house in, if you've seen the new It, they got the house perfectly set up so that it's like as they walk in, Scooby and the gang are walking out. Got the gang with Dune Buggy riding around the side of the sucker.
I'm pretty sure times were hard back then, fam. Because you say, why all these amusement parks? Same reason why we got all these abandoned parking lots right now. Why we got all these abandoned just arid patches of grass. It's like no one's gonna mow that long.
Boston Mafia action takes it down. I see what you're saying. I see what you're getting at,
don't bring the heat over here, man. I got nothing but love for the mob. Leave me alone, man. I ain't doing nothing to nobody. I ain't snitching.
I mean, aren't you part of the God Squad? That's a mob in itself, my man. You got backup. You got worldwide coverage. What you afraid of?
I'm on a mission. A mission from God.
He's a missionary on a mission. He's a missionary on a mission. You better start listening.
I am feeling this. I'm sorry. It's just been a minute. I'm just really impressed with what's going on with WEMF. After you badmouth EMF on our Facebook Live, get on our Facebook, the Geek Down Facebook, where I just posted a live stream of us doing our pre-show prep. And Pat was just going in about how the studio isn't up to snuff here at WEMF.
Dog.
But I am impressed with this flat screen. I'm able to see the video that we're going to have when we actually do the Metroid Samus Returns review in a minute.
Yeah, that's all really very impressed. Pretty and nice, yet while we're doing this live review, I'll put my hand in this beer they spilled all over the table, man. Gonna tell me about... Yeah, look at this, man. Look at this. It got scraps. This looks like a Philly. It looks like Philly scraps, dog. Philly scraps. You got bottle caps all over the sucker. Beer just here. They didn't even wipe it up. They just put a piece of paper on it. This looks like a fly or something. Man, they clowning. I hating. And then they put stickers on the piano. This uncouth, I tell you.
I'm with you on that one.
Thank you. Shenanigans are gonna be consequences, repercussions from man. Anyways, back to seriously. Well, anyways, the comic we were talking about was Violent Love, and as I was saying, I was feeling the story. The artwork really moved me. There are a couple of panels that really kind of take you out of it when I realized what was happening. I will say this is the upper echelon for indie style art. Comics, this is some of the best you can hope for, which is pretty good often, and not I'm not talking comics with crazy budgets and it's all CG and it's all done on computers and stuff. There's hand drawn art in here, which is cool, but you can tell they also tried to be really artistic with it, which is something that seasoned comic artists do, and sometimes it really works out, but also a lot of times it leaves the panels kind of confused. There was a scene with a car wreck in here that could have in the first issue, and that could have been real dope. But the way they had it framed, it's you see the car wreck in the background, and then they got these panels, not panels, these these little blocks, image blocks, kind of pasted on top. And you see someone's reaction over here and someone's reaction over there. That'd be cool, except it's taken away from the actual action. So I didn't know. All I know is these cars are wrecked. I didn't know how. After the fact, if this dude hadn't said in the dialogue, I'd have thought, they may as well just hit an invisible wall. It's well, what happened to the car? I don't know. It must have been ghosts. We got gremlins in the engine. You know, I don't know what's happening. But besides that, I mean, that's a nitpick, man. That's like some real moderate stuff. I was really enjoying this, and I would recommend it to anybody. It's out by Image Comics right now. It's an ongoing series. So Image 8 was the one that we checked out most recently, and then went back and read the previous 7. It is by, I got the thing up on here. It is by Frank J. Barbary and Barbary, Barbiere. So you try to pronounce it correctly and tell me I'm a sucker. All right, and Victor Santos. And it's just one of the better reads I've had this year. I'm really enjoying it. I recommend anybody check it out. It's called Violent Love, dude, from Image Comics. Highly recommend it. 2 thumbs up. Well, a thumbs up from me. Jay?
I'll give it a thumbs up. It was good.
All right, 2 thumbs up. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to my man, Just Johnny. Keeping it simple, keeping it direct with this brand new character. I'm not sure I got the name right. Is it Samus?
I came so close.
Samus Arnold?
Seamus Arnold, Patrick. I'm running out of Irish
Is that
names.
Patricia? Is that Patricia? Patrick?
No. It's this new game series called Matryoshka. Apparently, like, you duck in like seven smaller versions of yourself, and then you try to sneak in. I don't know what's going on.
You're a mess.
No, you're talking about Metroid Samus Returns. And what happens in this Metroid game? Well, Samus returns.
She returns. So Metroid Samus Returns is a remake of a really old Metroid game. Specifically, Metroid 2: Return of Samus.
Wow, came back in 1990.
I think 1990 or 91. Yeah, it was either 90 or 91.
I was but a young pup
when this game was made, or the original game that this is a remake of, and it's way more than just a remake of. But to put into perspective, graphics-wise, we're talking Game Boy. For the original Game Boy graphics, everything's green and black, and it just looks very blocky. We're talking like,
well, it's an old game. Like, we talking like I don't know if you have a video of it now, but this was the best we got back then. When on Game Boy, it was spinach green. It was it was spinach green on pea green. And this tiny screen where the best you could, and God forbid you had the Superboy, the Super Nintendo cartridge you installed Game Boy games into, and found out they were actually coded with the proper color because they plan on doing something like that. And you saw how messed up these things actually were.
Or the GBA player for GameCube, where you could also take old school Game Boy games and Game Boy Advance games and play them on your.
So you could ruin your previous experience. Where I'm sure this would be great if it was blown up. Jack.
Yeah, it really did ruin the experience. I was quite bitter. I was like, I wasted all the time.
Yeah, so out of the Metroid games, sort of Metroid 2 for the Game Boy was, I guess, the black sheep of the group, because not only did
the real black sheep.
Not only did it like
black sheep
play, very slowly. It was a bit clunky. It didn't have the map that was brought in on Super Metroid. So
wait, so this wasn't a good game?
It was okay, but it was the worst of the Metroid games.
Oh wow! Well, then why remake this?
A do-over, man. It was a mulligan.
Well, the thing is, it was the worst because of the tech at the time, right? This is very old. This is one of the first, or in the early, very early iterations of Game Boy games to release, right? We're talking like Super Mario Land only had 4 levels.
Yeah, no, I vaguely remember that because I never got to play it, so I was looking up this sucker hard in Game Boy and Game Pro magazine.
Game
Pro. Way back.
So out of all the games, and there have been other Metroid games that got remade. There was Metroid Zero Mission, which was a remake of the very original Metroid. So that got a remake a little over 10 years ago. I think about 12 or 13 years ago.
I remember when that dropped.
And it was a phenomenal remake. Absolutely spectacular. They took the Super Nintendo graphics and sort of redid it. And that was a game that absolutely needed it because the original Metroid is extremely hard and it's unguided, right? There's no map. There's no way to sort of figure out where you need to go next. So they added a lot of the extra gameplay enhancements, things that made it a bit easier and less frustrating to sort of get through. Not necessarily difficulty easy. I'm just saying streamlining the process of playing through the game. They did that for Metroid Zero Mission, and after Metroid 2, which was Super Metroid, it's essentially arguably the best in the franchise. So, and it introduced all of those things that streamlined it. So
Metroid, so they had good ideas on like a really crappy platform. And I'm not to knock the Game Boy itself, but it had hard limitations. Like I had a Game Gear, and even the color set it like, even though the Game Gear took 17 batteries, you know, for a solid half-hour game, for a solid half-hour play. Yep. But even the color set it way apart.
It did. It was head and shoulders above. I just remember being a kid, being jealous of my friends who had Game Gears, and I had the
did you know, my man,
I had the Game Boy, thinking, man, this sucks. I just want to play Tetris. While y'all got to play columns in color.
Oh, we were so simple.
Yeah. So. After the Zero Mission remake, Metroid 2 was definitively the worst in the franchise. So, fast forward to today, they remade it. They didn't go the full 2D route, but it's still that traditional 2D gameplay, but with very nice spruced up for 3DS.
Yeah, I noticed that in the video. It was kind of like 3DS, kind of like the same way they did an update of Bionic Commando.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's not 2D, but it still has that feel. But it still looks kind of like the 3D animation in there.
Yeah, it's 3D graphics on 2D gameplay.
Yeah.
So it has that very traditional 2D Metroid gameplay that it's actually been since Zero Mission that has had that. So it's been 13-ish years since the last 2D game-playing Metroid game. It's been quite a while since just the last good Metroid game. One of the last ones, there was one on 3DS, which doesn't even count. It wasn't even the same style of Metroid-style gameplay. It was this first-person co-op shooter-style game called Federation Force, and a lot of people didn't like that. The one before that was Metroid Other M. That was very controversial. It was.
I know Samus was naked throughout the whole thing. She was making all types of anti-Semitic statements, man. Crazy game.
There were some issues with that one, but so the last actually legitimate Metroid game was Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, or
I thought cats hated Prime.
No, Prime is amazing.
Really?
The whole trilogy of Metroid Prime is absolutely fantastic. It's one of the best in the series.
Oh, which one was poorly received? I thought it was Prime.
It was Other M.
Other M, okay.
Other M, yeah.
All right.
That was the one, and it was a mixed bag. It wasn't the worst of the group, but it was certainly a mixed bag. Metroid Prime Federation Force, which is that one I was mentioning, that is the one that was more recently absolutely poorly received. Fans did not want it. They did.
No, of course. You can't set Metroid in the Starfleet universe, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. You weren't playing as Samus. You're playing as these troops, and you're.
I think you're playing as Janeway. You're sitting there giving orders to the Metroids, and then they run you over.
It was a very level-based style of game. But anyway, back to Metroid Samus Returns. So they remade this game, and not only did they do a remake of giving it the nice shiny coat of awesome graphics.
It's so pretty.
Very pretty graphics, spectacular audio, by the way. Okay. Absolutely spectacular. It went really good.
It's got the soundtrack with the jams.
I got the special edition. It came with the sound, a handpicked selection of tracks from both this game and from prior Metroid games.
Okay, well, wait a minute. I was kidding, but the old Metroid games, they didn't have a soundtrack. They just had like ominous.
That is the Metroid soundtrack. It is
you bought an extra disc of just that.
Yeah. It's spectacular. There is music. There is a whole lot of music in the Metroid franchise, but it is very atmospheric at times. The music.
It's like this droning, and Johnny's just at home like with the
dancing around
with the controller in his hand. All right. Okay. So that's the history and that's the props, man. Give us the lowdown. What was it a good game?
It is a fantastic game. They did a really good job here. So they updated the graphics and the audio, spectacular, and then they also enhanced the gameplay that was there. They added very new gameplay elements that were either taken from newer Metroid games, so therefore Metroid, the one that this is based off of, never had those gameplay elements.
Wait, so what are you talking about? Like it goes in 3D? or
for
first person,
example,
I mean?
the grapple hook was never introduced in Metroid 2, but they put it as an item in this game. So they have power-ups that Samus gets in other Metroid games. They insert those into here, and that changes up the gameplay and how you explore the world and how you progress. But then they also insert brand new things that were never in a Metroid game before, like there's a melee parry button that you get that really cranks up the action and the difficulty of this game. There's also these Aeon abilities, these essentially superpowers that have never been in a Metroid game before. They added in there, and they added it in a way that doesn't make it overpowered. It doesn't make it feel like it detracts from the core Metroid experience. It feels like it is now the new standard way to play a Metroid game. Both of these elements, both the melee and these Aeon powers, as well as other things that they have included that were tied into prior games in the past.
What kind of other things we're talking? Like whenever Samus rolls into the ball, now she's got a sidekick named Tails that just kind of jumps out of nowhere, that helps fly to different parts of the level here.
No, some of it is a bit of smaller stuff. Like there's these teleporters that you can now take. So it really whittles down on the backtracking they have to, or at least the time it takes to backtrack.
Okay, because the backtracking
areas
is what turned me off the Metroid originally, like way back in the day. When you have to go all the way back to the beginning. Oh no, Super Metroid was the worst because you had nothing and you going all through that damn ship.
Oh, and you can't say Super Metroid is the worst on anything.
Was the worst?
It's a perfect game.
Oh. What?
It is a perfect game.
What?
Super Metroid is probably the best game ever made. Probably.
Well,
I'm still, processing it in my head.
I feel like you're a man that never played Flashback. Any of the Flashback was amazing. Yes, Flashback was the most beautiful game, the most ridiculously hard detective story, and the most impossibly just hateful. You paid for this game. I'm gonna make you pay for it with your sanity purchase I've ever made, and it was wonderful. A game that I did not beat until decades later when I got my first emulator, and I'm like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna finally conquer this sucker, man. Yes, that right
hilarious.
There. That right there is the
hashtag
yes.
petty. He was like, I'm not letting this go. I'm not letting this go.
I will not let it get the best of me.
So, Metroid Samus
perfect
Returns
game. He says you are crazy.
Is actually so. If the last few Metroid games you've played is Super Metroid or the Metroid Prime games, or even if you're a veteran of the series and have played essentially all of them, this game is gonna change. It changes things up so dramatically that it's a new way of playing Metroid, and the way I mean that is. It still has the elements of the exploration, the atmosphere, the pseudo aliens horror-esque vibes, and they really crank it up on this one, which is spectacular. Love it. But they turn this into a way faster, action-paced, harder, more mature Metroid. Something that I haven't experienced in quite some time. Probably going as far back as the original Metroid Prime, but once again, way more action. Way faster pace than any of the other Metroid games. You're always on your feet because the enemies are absolutely aggressive. They will attack you immediately as soon as you get within their field of vision. They will start going at you, and you have to be on your toes. You have to, melee parry. You have to freeze them, missile them, and you have to balance between a lot of different abilities. All these new powers that they're giving you, they're really testing you. It's like they made a game for themselves because they themselves are fans
with the original.
of the series.
Okay, then I'm glad you brought all that up because let me ask you, because you're a fan of the Metroid series, you're a hardcore fan.
Yep.
Now, like you said, this is a remake of a game that previously existed. So if I'm not such a huge fan of the Metroid series, I'm just a regular gamer looking for something new to play. What will get me to purchase this? Is it worth my money if I'm not that huge? Adjustments behind the scenes, kids. If I'm not a hardcore fan to begin with, I'm just a casual player of the series,
Yeah, that is.
I'm more of a Flashback fan.
Yeah, that is something I was thinking about.
Nice plug there, Pete.
That was something I was thinking about. Is they definitely geared this game towards fans of the series, and the difficulty is there to match. But the Aeon abilities really do help. If you are able to leverage them, they do help with sort of easing yourself into it. But I think there's always going to be that difficulty of the combat, and the enemies do a lot of damage and all of those things. There is an easier difficulty mode, but if you're going at normal, you're going to find it very challenging. So I would say the big attractor is that this is a very sci-fi horror-esque environment in a very hostile world in a very alien planet, and those things I think are gonna be big attractors. If you're a fan of aliens, and I'm talking,
and who isn't? I mean, come on. They're from other places. They're all exotic.
For this type of game, I'm actually kind of surprised that it doesn't have sort of a more mature line of rating, because it is a mature game without like the blood and gore and things like that.
All right, so it's mature as in Samus is dropping F-bombs left and right. The Metroids are hitting you with their penises now.
They are hitting you with their tentacle teeth, the sucking, tentacle energy teeth. Draining, weird.
Sold.
There's mutations in here.
They're sucking and then draining.
Yeah. They're floating around. They have their feelers out.
You're selling this the wrong way.
They got their feelers out. They're floating out there.
Somebody's going to buy it.
They're feeling on. It's horrible. All right, now I feel like we're taking the prestige away from this game. Okay, so now that's a lot of positive. Is there anything negative about this? Because the original game itself wasn't that stellar, as you've like blatantly let us know. Yeah. Okay, so what is there any downside to this sucker?
I would say the downside, if you are a newcomer to the series, the difficulty of the combat can be a detractor. It can also be an attractor, right? If you're into action, very heavy action games, you're going to love this. There's a lot of exploration. There's backtracking, but this is probably the Metroid game with the least amount of backtracking. Also, there's the teleportations going from one area to another, and it's
making me run all over this ship left and right. I got asthma.
And the world design is a little bit more linear, where you're going from one major section to another with little reason to return back other than to power yourself up. Negatives. It's really hard to come up with negatives on this. I mean, for the most part.
From somebody who's not as raving, drooling fan over Metroid, what would be the downsides? Because I remember a couple of the really big pains in the ass for me were you would go, you'd find out something. Oh, you go to this room and you go back here 3 times and you get this special thing, and then you go back to this room that you couldn't access before, and blah blah blah, and all that would be for some small trinket. No real advantage. Yep. It's more of like an in-game trophy type thing. So, something that would make it worth my while and gameplay-wise.
So for something like that, they have one of the very first brand new abilities that's never been in a Metroid game, the Aeon abilities. There's 4 different ones. One of the very first one you get actually allows you to send out this pulse that reveals hidden areas around you. So if you don't want to go around and if you're getting stuck somewhere and you don't know where to go next, you just hit that button, and your localized map will get revealed for where there could be potential hidden areas that you can then explore and give you an idea of where you need to go next.
Okay.
So there's more guidance there, but it's also not forced guidance, which I think is a pretty ideal way of handling it.
All right, and something that I know it came much later, but a problem that I had in this series that I first noticed in Metroid and couldn't quite put into words until it brought it to light. The Abe's Odyssey series, the Oddworld series, Abe's Odyssey, Munch's Odyssey.
Yep. What about it?
One of those main problems that I originally found in Metroid and couldn't really place my finger on is that when backtracking is part of the gameplay, it's used effectively versus it's just in there for filler. You said this game is shorter. It's shortest.
No.
Okay.
This game is actually pretty long. It's probably one of the longest 2D gameplay Metroids out there. The map is absolutely huge. There's a lot to do, a lot to explore. It's varied, so it has a lot of that going for you. But once again, you don't have to worry about the backtracking. Okay. The backtracking is really like a means of grinding in like an RPG. To level up. It's them
dragging it out when they didn't have any more gameplay to fill in the spots. They just had a quota of time span and stuff. You're saying this one doesn't suffer from that, because that's gonna turn me off to the sucker.
It doesn't. It's actually pretty streamlined. It is.
If I play this game and there's backtracking, Johnny, I'm coming for you.
It's only backtracking if you feel like you need to backtrack to find more power-ups to power yourself up. So if you suck at the game, then you kind of need to backtrack in order to power yourself up a little bit. But if you got the skill like I do, I didn't have to backtrack.
You cocky son of you, man, really? All right, so it sounds. Whoa, I'm sorry. I'm sitting in bootleg chairs here, and I'm sliding off this little ledge we got on the floor.
The other thing about this, here's a negative, is that potential negative is that if you are a fan,
you're gonna be like, well, here's a negative. In the game itself, it's just too great. It doesn't stop to. Here's the negative. It's a game that's so good it doesn't stop to smell the roses once in a while. Like,
there is very, very limited storytelling. So if you want a
game that's so great, it might be addictive.
If you want a story-oriented game and to be presented an interesting story, don't come to Metroid series at all for something like that. The storytelling is show and not tell. So as you're playing through the game, that is the story. Now, I'm not saying that it's. I don't want to make it seem like it's more interesting than what it actually is. Metroid Prime absolutely landed the show don't tell and did that sort of immersive storytelling. But for this, it's very much backseat. You're not going to get a storyline in this until you get to key points. There are some elements there, but it's.
Well, it's purely action platformer.
It's purely action platformer. It's gameplay first, without a doubt.
All right, so make the call, my man. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
You already put the thumbs up, man.
You already did?
Man. Thumbs up's been there since the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Susan.
now it's live.
So you said just Johnny's like, thumbs up? I'm going to tell you why.
Definitely.
It's like, Johnny, you're talking about Metroid. Thumbs up. You haven't played the game yet. Oh, I'm not. Don't worry, I know.
It's one of the easiest thumbs up I can give. I mean, it was a no-brainer going. But, it's just very high production value. The controls are absolutely super tight.
They have the
free aiming going on.
It's like, well, a negative would be there's just not as much as I would have liked because the game ended at some point.
It's like one of those. Give me your weakness. You know what my weakness is? That I work too hard. That's my weakness.
Johnny's like, a negative would be it's just too fun, and I wanted to play other games at some point. But
God, the music is just too good. I'm like listening to it. I had to switch my headphones from these dinky things I have over here, the earbuds, to like the full like over the ear like high quality audio because it was just so good.
A negative is I had to buy a new computer so I could properly respect it. Man.
You know, the system I was playing on is not ideal. I was playing on
the system wasn't good enough for the game.
It actually wasn't good enough for the game. I kid you not. If you're playing on the 3DS, then you're gonna experience a little bit of frame stuttering, a little bit of drop frames.
To be fair, this is a port over from a Game Boy game.
No, this is complete remix.
Okay, all right, but then still going off the original game base. I mean, maybe that stuff was in there for nostalgic purposes.
No. It could have run smoother, but also don't forget this is like weird Nintendo stuff. Like Nintendo has a new 3DS. I don't have the new 3DS, and the new 3DS has better horsepower.
Nintendo comes out with 4 different 3DSs every month.
And the new one has more horsepower. So if you're playing on a new one, you're not going to experience the frame skips and all that stuff. If you're playing on the older one, it's still not there. But if you turn the 3D all the way up, 3D effect,
you got to crank it to 11.
Absolutely awesome. This is probably
you got to crank it from 3 to D.
It is one of the best 3D.
You got to throw some D's on it.
Glassesless 3D effects in a game to experience. But once you turn that up, it might chug a little bit here and there. So.
Okay, well, no, that's you saying like it's a bad thing, man. I like games that give you that interlace option. You know, can I slow down my frame rate? Can I make it choppy? Just because it's nostalgic. It makes me feel comfortable.
It's mostly smooth.
I like having to blow on the cartridge.
It's mostly smooth when you crank it up and you're in the middle of combat. Sometimes it can skip a little bit, but if that becomes a problem, you can always turn off the 3D and then it runs smooth.
Oh, you can. Okay, all right, cool. Yeah. All right, you may have sold me.
Oh,
even though you're like its only flaw is that I only got to play it once.
This is going to take hours, many hours to get through and beat.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you. That was Metroid Samus Returns. Available now.
Available right now.
Available now for the 3DS, Nintendo 3DS.
Yep, and the new 3DS and the 3DS XL and the new 3DS
Nintendo
XL, the 2DS.
but not the Switch.
not the Switch. You know what? That is a major negative. You know what? That is the negative.
We finally got one.
It's not on
we
the
got
Switch.
one.
That's not on the Switch.
I would love for this game to be on the Switch.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna let Johnny climb down off Samus's tip, and pass it over to JM the Thriller Priests for WWE No Mercy.
Yay.
No mercy.
Oh, man. After I done spilled, all y'all who watching on Twitch see me done spilled this Red Bull.
We try to.
This is what I get. This is what I get.
Bit of realness for anyone who's not watching the Twitch stream. You're wrong, and you should be. But yeah, like we're in the middle trying to maintain a prestigious review, and this man is scrambling after spilling our orange soda,
orange Red Bull,
or orange Red Bull all over the place.
They got me working hard, man.
Herb chucking rolls of toilet paper throughout the studio here.
And I appreciate you looking out, Herb, as my whole pant leg is smelling like tangerine Red Bull. And this is what I get. I'm working hard, brother. Working hard. Like
demonstrate the stanky leg over here in the studio.
I'm not 2 mixtapes in 6 months working hard, but I'm working hard. But all right, let's get it.
All right, WWE No Mercy.
Yeah, so I'm gonna touch it on Mercy in a minute. I'm gonna do a quick down and dirty because, as always, a lot of wrestling pay-per-views. So the first one I'm gonna talk about real quick is Ring of Honor: Death Before Dishonor. That came out on the 22nd. It was in Las Vegas. Just want to highlight 4 matches real quick before jumping into No Mercy. Kenny King, I mentioned it before. He fought Kushida for the title. It was really nice because I mentioned before how Kenny King was on The Bachelorette. So Kenny King comes out. Women are passing him red roses as he walks down the aisle. It was freaking hilarious. It was awesome.
I feel like that's not how they play the game.
I was like, I am not mad at you, homie. That show didn't give you the rose, but all these women in the audience will give you roses. Keep it going, Pimp Juice. Doing it.
You know, he took them all back after the match.
It was awesome. He did it. He did what he had to do. He ended up getting the TV title, so it was a good look for him. Mm-hmm. Nice little family moment. His daughter was there. She jumped in the ring and hugged him. It was cute.
She gave him a rose. It was creepy.
It was a good deal. Motor City Machine Guns went up against the Young Bucks and got the title from them. Got the tag team titles for them. It's their first reign. It's a good look for them, especially Alex Shelley, who did some time in WWE, didn't get much love, and now he's over here doing it and got his tag team titles over with Chris Sabin against the Young Bucks. Jay Lethal went up against Silas Young. Y'all can see it on Twitch. I'm rocking a Lethal shirt. Big up to the greatest first-generation wrestler, Jay Lethal. He went up against Silas Young. One of the highlights of this, because of the street fight, is that Silas Young runs up to the ring announcer, tells him to lift up his shirt, takes his belt off him, legit took his belt off him, and tried to whip Jay Lethal. Unfortunately, he got caught, dropped the belt. Lethal got it, and proceeded to whip him like he was his kid stole something. Like, bro, them whips were to the point where the Joker had welts on his back. He was not showing mercy. Whooped the hell out of him with this belt.
Remember way back in the day when a simple eye rake was enough for disqualification?
They still do a back rake.
This cat grabbing belts and whipping cats.
Hey man, it was a no holds barred street fight, whatever you want to call it, and it was good that Silas Young eventually got the belt instead of whooping Jay Lethal. It was good. It was good because Jay Lethal jobbed to Silas Young, but it definitely helped out Silas Young's career because Silas Young's getting a push. I mean, Jay Lethal's former Ring of Honor World Champion, former Ring of Honor TV Champion. He held both belts at the same time. So I mean, it was a good look for him to kind of pass it off to Silas Young, who's a little on the older side, but his gimmick is getting over. Folks starting to like him, so it was good. So their overall feud now is 2-3. Jay Lethal won twice. Silas Young won 3 times. Cody, the American Nightmare Cody, went up against Suzuki. One of the things I gotta drop real quick: Suzuki is the current New Japan Never Open champion. Suzuki is old school. This Joker was an MMA fighter, like legit MMA fighter, not one of these guys who kind of does MMA on the side. Like, no, this dude has a 29-19 record. This dude beat Ken Shamrock
the gun in his backyard.
In Japan, in Japanese MMA. And like legit fought world champions. Like he beat Ken Shamrock twice in Shamrock's prime. Not like, oh, Ken Shamrock in like 2006. No, like he beat Ken Shamrock in like 93.
Okay, so crazy.
You know what I mean? So this dude like beat Shamrock twice. Ken Shamrock twice. Beat Maurice Smith. Beat Matt Hume. These are all dudes in their prime. So this dude is like legit. So it's interesting watching him fight because he's one of the most feared men in New Japan. He went up against Cody and it was a good match, but Cody held on to his belt. So overall, Death Before Dishonor, I liked it. I mean, it's a great Ring of Honor pay-per-view. Next is Destruction in Kobe, which is New Japan's pay-per-view. This joint came on at 3 a.m. American time, 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I should say, on the 24th.
How do you watch these?
I did not watch it at 3 a.m.
Okay, all right.
I caught that joint like at noon, so I caught the replay. I got the New Japan World,
like,
so I watched it.
What's Daddy doing up at this hour? He's suffering. He's suffering for the cause.
Suffering for peace. Show. You tell Uncle Pat this is what Daddy does. 3 matches want to highlight.
Uncle
4 matches.
Pat appreciate you, brother.
No doubt, brother. Doing it.
Get your watch on.
So next. So first off, it opened up with a 10-man tag. I'm not going to name all 10, but there's some pretty good highlights of this 10-man tag. You got Ricochet and Taguchi, who are the IWGP Junior Tag Team Champions, Funk and Future. You're going to hear Ricochet pretty soon because Ricochet is anticipated making his WWE debut any day now. As soon as Lucha Underground releases him from his contract, he's making that jump to WWE. He's already put pictures of him and Triple H on Twitter saying, I'll be seeing you soon, that whole sort of thing. So Ricochet, if you are not looking at independent pro wrestlers at all, you need to look at Ricochet. Ricochet is just amazing.
Yeah, he's cocky as hell, too.
He's doing it. Yushin Thunder Liger was in this match. That joke is still going at over 50 years old. He's still doing it. Taka Michinoku for you WWE fans. If you don't remember Taka's Diesel Swole now doing it. And Taichi. Right. So I mean, it was nice little beef. Good match that went on. The part that was kind of throwing me off though with this New Japan pay-per-view, mind you, I subscribe to New Japan Pro Wrestling, their pay-per-views or whatever. Listening to the English commentary, apparently they will not play certain theme songs because of international copyright laws. So there was a whole 10 minutes of footage and I'm watching. There was no audio. And across the screen it says international copyright laws prevent us from playing this music. So instead of just cutting out the music, they cut out all audio. So it was radio silence, me just watching images on the screen. I'm mad as hell.
Not even like the in-ring
nothing.
noise?
So match is over, music hits, quiet. So wrestlers will run up to the camera talking trash. I just see mouths moving. I am heated. I'm sitting here like, yo, what are you doing, fam? Then I was like, okay, if I put it on the Japanese and just listen to it in Japanese, then I would have heard the song. So I was like, you know what? That's what I get. That's what I get. I was a little hot, but that's what it was.
Nah, they should have put on elevator music or something. This dude, you get cats slamming you here. Da 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 da. What's that? Backbreaker. Da 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 da.
Yeah, for real. It's like, what are we doing?
Or like John Denver or something.
John Denver.
They're sitting there getting down to Neil Diamond. Sweet line neckbreaker.
All right. All right.
He goes off the top rope. I was blind when I met you.
You a mess. Oh man. All right, man. Let me knock out this New Japan one real quick before I get into No Mercy. All right. Trent Beretta made his singles heavyweight debut against Yujiro Takahashi for the Bullet Club, or he's the Tokyo Pimp. It was a good match. It was a good match and went up, and Beretta got the win. It was good for him to be able to have his first singles run as a heavyweight. The IWGP Tag Team Championship match, man, that was bonkers. After watching this, I said, yo, I'm never taking my kid to a New Japan match because these shows were cursing and wilding out, and it was just one of those classic big guys going at it. Heavyweights just doing it. It was War Machine, who were the tag team champions, against the Killer Elite Squad out of Suzuki-gun, who Davey Boy Smith Jr., British Bulldog's son's part of this team.
Oh, really?
And the Gorillas of Destiny from the Bullet Club, or Haku's sons.
I'm gonna back you up just one step real quick. Is the son also named Davey Boy
Smith Jr.?
But his proper name is
Davey Boy Smith Jr. Well, at least that's his pro wrestling name. I don't know if that's his government name.
Okay, I'm about to say, yeah. How you gonna sit there? What's your son's name? Davey Boy. You sure he may want to get a job in accounting or something?
Hey, he pro wrestler, so it really don't matter.
Yeah, but now, but when he was 5 years old, Davey Boy. No, actually, that kind of fits. When he was like 15, Davey Boy, I'm not going to prom with you.
Well, his name is Harry Francis Smith. So,
you know what? Not Davey Boy. Davey Boy is certainly not such a bad name.
Idiot head. The Kill Elite Squad took the match, but I mean, it was just so many.
Name before he kicks my ass.
You need to leave him alone when he shows up here because he don't care. He don't care if he wrestles or not. He's beating up refs after he won the match. After they got the belts, he's beating people up. It's like, bro, you won. Like, this is why you don't need for you to be kicking dudes upside the head. You won, fam. Like, you got this.
Got all that angst.
So, I mean, it was a great match. Like, man, this is one of the few times I see heavyweights flying, dudes going through tables. The Guerrillas of Destiny is one of my favorite tag teams. The funny thing is, they actually shouted out the Usos and as they're coming down the aisle. It was pretty funny to see that. Just see these dudes going at it, and of course recognizing other organizations, other wrestlers, other organizations. Mm-hmm. Finally, Juice Robinson. For those of you who are WWE fans, you might remember him as C.J. Parker, who was a jobber in NXT. He's been growing as Juice Robinson in New Japan. Got himself a U.S. title shot against Kenny Omega. It was a really, really, really good match. And the finish worked out very well because they were going at it, doing all these high spots, great spots. Kenny Omega hit him with the super one-winged angel from the top rope. And it's just amazing to see him be able to do a move like that off the top rope. And the match was over. And I want you to hold on to that because I'm going to talk about No Mercy when it comes to finishes. But that finish was great. Great match overall. I know I'm sounding like Dave Meltzer here, but that pay-per-view was just on point. Destruction and Kobe, New Japan's pay-per-view was great. So I'm chilling rest of the day, wait for No Mercy to happen. After I complained about not watching the pre-show, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have to watch the pre-show because I keep doing this. Keep skipping the pre-show and missing 4 or 5 matches. I watched the pre-show. I had to sit there in the door, garbage interviews, and them talking to the WWE Universe. And some guys like, Alexa, will you marry me? And she's like, I'm not going to marry you. And I was like, why am I watching a soap opera crap just to watch one match that was kind of subpar anyway? It's because I'm dedicated to the Geek Down. That's why I endure this garbage.
Let me throw it up the It's so, like, y'all made me watch this bullshit. For you, fam.
So No Mercy kicks off. I'm going to go through the matches that touched me. I was like, yeah. The 5-way women's match, Nia Jax, Bayley, Emma, Sasha, and Alexa. The high spot for the match that stuck out to me is when Nia Jax had 2 women on her back, like across her shoulder blades, did squats, and then Samoa dropped them. Son, I almost lost it. Like, this woman squatted 2 other women on her shoulders and did a Samoan drop and dropped them on their head. I mean, overall, it was a great match. Alexa took it, and I'm just like, you know what? I get what you're doing, but at the same time, if you're going to push Nia Jax this much, and you're going to put all this energy into her and making her this unstoppable force, why aren't you going to slap the title on her? Is it really because she don't have the look? Because she's not skinny? She's not dainty looking?
Man, they gave China the world championship.
That was
title.
Forever. Nah, it was an intercontinental belt and a women's world title.
I could have sworn she held for like a day. No,
not that I know of.
Oh, wow.
But they
getting facts wrong here on the Geek Down.
But even then with China, it was one of those. They still made it into a sex symbol in order to do it. But any event, I'm a little frustrated that Nia didn't get it. But overall, it was a good match and it worked out relatively well. The execution of it was good, so I'm happy with the quality of the match, even though I'm not happy with the outcome. John Cena versus Roman Reigns. My issue with this one was the finish. So you guys seen him, who hit 2 high spots. He did his AA finishing move off the top rope to Roman Reigns. And he did a AA roll, AA again to Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns kicks out of both. But Roman Reigns finishes John Cena with just a Superman punch and a spear, like his regular move. Like, are you serious right now? Like, you have these high spots that for some reason to kick out of it. It's like, oh my God, he kicked that. But you trying to tell me he goes down with a punch in the face and a spear? Like, that's how he ends it? Like, come on, man. Work with me here. Like, show me a good finish. Like, I get it. It's one of those you're trying to keep us on the edge of our seats for a finish can happen anytime, for it not to be predictable. But it's like video game playing. You know what I mean? If I'm playing a video game and I hit you with the Hadouken, then I hit you with the uppercut, and then I just sweep your leg, and that's how you die. It's like, come on, fam. Like, you die because I swept your leg. Like, no. You're supposed to finish me with the uppercut.
You know how sensitive my shins are, brother.
Like you're supposed to freeze me and uppercut me, and that's how the finish is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be you freeze me, uppercut me, then you just got to give me a punch in the chest, and I'm dead. Like, come on. And that's what it feels like watching these matches.
It's that lethal toe hold. At least catch on the big toe. That's how they got the tiger.
It's like you hit me in the face with a chair, but you beat me with the finger poker dude. Like, come on now. So I'm a little mad about how the execution of this match went. It's like you built this up for it to end like that.
Hey man, maybe think best case scenario. You ever played Knockout Kings?
Yes.
It's like you spend the whole fight, just dinging them haymakers left and right. But they came in with that one clean hit to the nose. Boom. Fight's over. That's what Roman Reigns got that one clean hit with Superman punch.
Just like, I mean, it's what it is. Of course, Cena was going to lose because he's trying to build up Reigns, but it's what it is. Lesnar went up against Strowman. Lesnar kept the belt. It is what it is.
I saw a highlight from this with the multiple suplexes, and this dude, he did the full on Kurt Angle, just kagoosh, wait for him, kagoosh, wait for him again, kagoosh, and he's tired.
I mean, he's old, man. He's like 38, 39. I mean, he old. You know what I mean? They're catching up with him. But, I mean, you're right. I mean, he was doing it. He was doing them suplexes, but he was hurting.
And kind of, but not really related question. How the hell is Paul Heyman? That's the luckiest man in any kind of sports entertainment. All he does is stay on the sidelines getting his car rolled on. And he must be paid out.
He is because his character is important. His character. I mean, if you got a good character, I mean, keep it pushing. If Robert Slick was still relevant,
he's a professional hater. That's the man. That's the man. Gig.
Hey man, it works for him, and people love it. I mean, hey, employable skill for WWE.
Wonder if they hiring you. I'll sit there. Look at you.
You sure, man?
Hey man,
you be the second Patrice that wrote for them. Go for it, fam.
All right, wait, Patrice O'Neal wrote for them?
Yeah, you know that?
Nah, news to me, brother.
Go online. YouTube, Google it. Patrice O'Neal gives his whole breakdown how he worked for WWE for like a week. He got fired. He got fired because he told Stephanie McMahon, "Listen, I got a show to do." She goes, "What are you talking about? We need you here." He goes, "No, I told you from the get-go. I got a show to do." And they fired him because he took off and went to do his show.
What?
Yeah, he talks about how he first met Vince McMahon, how he went up to Connecticut, went to his house, and interacting with Vince, interacting with Linda, like the whole 9 yards. But he, like his first week there, working behind the scenes, and yeah, man, it's an awesome interview. Check it out, man.
I got some reading to do, apparently.
Definitely listening.
Right. Okay, cool.
So check it out. All right, 2 things. 1, Enzo got the belt from Neville, cruiserweight belt. Why? I don't know. Sloppy match. We know Enzo can't wrestle. He's one of those dudes who got a great mouthpiece. He can talk. He can spit a good game. But the match was horrendous because he can't wrestle. But you gave him the belt. Okay, I see you. He's popular, so he gets a belt. All right. Finally, the tag team title match. Sheamus and Cesaro went up against Ambrose and Rollins. The highlight of this match is the obvious. Cesaro's teeth getting pushed into his mouth.
Ooh.
He runs into the ropes. He bounces. His teeth hit the steel turnbuckle, or the steel pole that actually holds the turnbuckle, that holds the ropes. His teeth legit get pushed, as WWE.com says, pushed up into his jaw 3 to 4 millimeters.
He ain't pretty no more.
Blood coming out his mouth throughout the whole match. And this Joker still fought for like 15 to 20 more minutes. I'd have tapped out, homie. I'm like, I'm done. I'm going over to the back. Like blood gushing everywhere.
Is there a dentist in the house?
He's going to the dentist apparently tomorrow. Something like that. They're gonna do surgery.
How you gonna wait 2 days?
And they're probably just gonna pull him out and put some implants in there.
Oh.
Go online, look that joint up. And if there's one highlight from this whole pay-per-view, is the champ that Cesaro is getting his teeth pushed into his freaking jaw, his 2 front teeth. Blood covered everywhere, and he's still fought. Are you trying to tell me this man don't deserve a single shot? Like,
look him up. He's gonna be the one with the Paul Wall grill, in the ring on the side.
People's champ. At least Paul Wall had an Intercontinental belt. Damn, they didn't give Cesaro that. So with that being said, obviously I'm gonna tell you, watch Ring of Honor, watch New Japan, watch WWE, and I'm gonna leave on this note before I pass it off to Pete. You're not going to hear me hate on WWE not that much anymore, because I had to sit back and realize, after watching these 3 pay-per-views over the course of 3 days, I realized WWE is not in the same league as everybody else. They're not. It's not that they're better. It's just that they're different. And with that being said, I got to judge them on who they are and can't compare them to everybody else. Whereas with every other wrestling organization, I can compare them to each other. I can't compare these dudes in it because in the end, they're not really wrestling. They're entertainment. And you can tell by the way they're booking. For you to give a guy who clearly can't wrestle a belt, but guys who could wrestle, you did not give them the belt, speaks volumes. A woman who you clearly know can carry that belt to the next level, you're purposely holding her back because she doesn't have a certain look. It's unfortunate. For a guy who's willing to have his teeth pushed into his freaking jaw, bleed throughout the match, and still finish the match. for him not to get a singles push is wrong. But it's great for entertainment because if I'm a fan of the WWE universe, all my people who I liked won, and I'm happy. So with that being said, yeah, check out No Mercy. It was a good pay-per-view for WWE standards. But if you ask me as a pro wrestling fan, it was just run-of-the-mill WWE. With that being said, that's all I got.
All right. Well, one more thing. I want to say rest in peace to Bobby the Brain.
Yes.
Passed just recently, a legend in wrestling entertainment as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, dude, I used to watch this dude. You know where I first discovered him? Not even in WWF, not in any kind of wrestling format. He and Gorilla Monsoon were regulars on Double Dare. On Double Dare
Yes,
and Nickelodeon as a little kid.
I remember.
Yeah. And I'm learning like who these legendary wrestlers are because they're getting slimed and going through the indoor kiddie pools of Cocoa Puffs they call dog food.
Yes.
and like picking a giant nose because that's the image they carried in the ring. They're these hardcore badasses, and then later on they're these like evil, heinous managers. And right there they're playing with children. You know, they're like being funny and joking around with families. You know, they were legitimate good guys. And Bobby the Brain Heenan was one of those. He was up there. And he was one of the first people that ushered me into wrestling as a fan way back in the day. Little Pat, getting into it. And I just want to say rest in peace, sir.
R.I.P.
All right, and now we're going to close out with just a quick breakdown of the Boston Festival Indie Games. I got to check it out. Johnny, were you there, my friend?
Oh, I was there.
Johnny was there in full effect. He was going to give us his impressions because he had a lot to say.
We both have a lot to say.
Yeah,
man.
I'm going to try.
Man. Oh, man.
What did I miss? Because I was geared up to go. And family stuff came up. I ain't get no bags. I ain't get my teeth fixed. I ain't even go. Pat told me about this. I should have went. And now I feel like I missed something. So what did I miss, P? What are you excited that's coming out?
It's the easiest question to answer. You missed nothing.
The Boston Festival Indie Games it's a smaller. It's getting pretty much to be its own convention now. It's an exposition of a lot of local indie developers. Not even local. Like some folks have flown in from New York, from Philadelphia.
Someone flown in from New York. I'm like, that's a 45-minute flight.
Exactly. Yeah, you made that drive boring as hell through like back roads and stuff. I'll fly. I'll take the sucker. Yeah. But cats come in from out of town. They travel for this for this exhibition. It's gotten that big now, and you always hope to see like some really good stuff. And I honestly was kind of disappointed this time around, man, because and I understand why. This is my theory, at least. And Johnny, you can tell me if you can back me up or tell me if I'm off the mark here. There was a lot of new developers at this year's festival, and I don't mean new developers and new talent. They were new, but also new to demonstrating their product. So there wasn't a lot of thought given to several different people might want to play my game at once. A lot of thought given to how am I properly going to convey what this game is about to anyone who's new to it without having them sit down and just like read whatever tutorial I had someone write for me. Can I break it down in a quick a few sentences and let them get them interested as they walk by, because there's tons of other stuff here to see. Do I have stuff for them to see, or is it just a laptop set up on an empty table? And they really have nothing to draw them to it, And am I into the game? There were several folks there who, I mean, it's honestly, to me at least, it seems like they didn't want, my business, my attention, anything. They were just there. If you want to play it, fine. If you don't, screw up. It was very
professional.
It was, a lot of it was unprofessional, not sociable.
Unprofessional, but
which is unfortunate.
Not in an offensive way. It's not like they were, being bad presenters and being rude or anything like that. It was very amateur, right?
So it's not polished.
Polished. It's amateur. I mean, it's reminiscent of or indicative of what the games that were there, and the majority of stuff that was there was student projects.
Yeah, that's the problem. And as much as I hate to speak ill of this convention, they've been very good to us. We've actually been following them since the very beginning in that first year when it really was all student projects. They had a few classrooms opened up and they set up PCs, and the students ran projects, and a couple of companies showcased there. But it was hot. It was just like
it was great
muggy
for the first few years.
Yeah, and this was a huge step back. I mean, the convention, the festival themselves, the staff was on point. They've learned a lot from previous years.
Yeah,
and their setup was much better than it has been in the past, but still things like the top floor being way too hot. You can't spend too much time in there, and it makes for an uncomfortable environment.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think they learned from
last year. In other areas, like there was a much better exchange with the people getting badges and stuff. Downstairs was far better run.
Well, that was the same thing that they had last year. So this year and last year was almost identical in setup and sort of how everything's were sort of structured. I thought last year and the year before was a bit different, but this year and last year felt almost exactly the same. Even the heat issue that you brought up was exactly the same thing. Last year it was way too hot, and this year it was way too hot. This year was
too hot. It was less hot. Like last year, I remember it was muggy. I couldn't breathe, and this year I was just uncomfortable.
I was sweating.
All right. Well, you had a jacket on for
I took off my jacket.
All right. Well, I thought they did do better. They added more stuff besides just the gaming floors. Like there was Quidditch over. They were using more of the space too.
Yeah, that was cool.
We actually got some footage of that. Not as much as I was hoping, unfortunately, because by the time we got there, the people had been going for a while, so they were tired. You know, but it's good that they've expanded what's available to the attendees to check out. But it's the companies that were presenting games which were really the downside, which is unfortunate because I hate to speak ill of just fledgling developers on the hustle.
Well, yeah, right. So it was barely companies because these were very much studios that were formed for the sake of either a school project or a school part of a curriculum for a particular class or a set of classes. Okay. So, I mean, I would have to say more than half of these projects were student-led projects, not something that is being explored as a professional level thing. Not to say that these aren't going to hit some sort of platform for sale or for distribution of some sort. Most of these things, I mean, most of the people here there were trying to present it as something that would be available on Steam or on the iOS store or what have you.
Yeah.
It's just
the sense was heavily on previews. Like you're getting an early look at this, which is cool if I'm getting an early look at something finished. And that was one of the main problems. A lot of this stuff that we saw there was unfinished.
Right. But
unfinished, unpolished. They didn't have demo worthy games available.
Yeah, most of the stuff, and it was like that last year, and it was like that the year before. It seems like
they had a better sense of it, though. That's the problem.
Last year they did, and then the year before that, it was even better. It seems like they've been de-escalating on the sizing of this and the amount of sort of attention that's being brought to the Boston Fig, because last year was bigger than this year. The year before that was way bigger than last year's, and obviously way bigger than this year. Like they had bigger studios, actually identifiable, some studios that you actually recognize that were actually fairly big doing presentations.
That's a complaint I can't get behind, because I like the concept of the Festival Indie Games focusing mainly on smaller independent developers, but they have to know to get their stuff, like get their game on, get their stuff ready before they can actually present it. That's the problem.
Right.
I love giving attention to the smaller developers, to the indies, indies proper, but they suffer from, I guess, a lack of maybe the experience presenting.
It is a lack of experience presenting, and don't get me wrong, I don't want this to ever change from being, very early student projects, very much indie game projects.
Because it sounded like you were vying for a sponsorship from Mitsubishi, and I think that's messed up.
It's one of those things that you want to have at least some big hitters there, just for the sake of drawing the attention, bringing in the media, bringing in the bigger crowds, right? And then they experience all the other projects that are out and about, these smaller student-led projects or very small indie game studio projects. I love that. That needs to happen, but they still need to have, like Unity, right? Have the Unity engine, the team that sort of handles that. Have them have their own booth. They didn't have a booth. Have Valve or something like that show off, VR or something, or do something about Steam. Like have some fairly big individual that or company that is well recognized, but also is supportive of the indie scene. Like they need to get someone, some big companies.
They
like
need to
that,
have more support in that realm.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, we covered the negatives. I do have to call it a couple positives because when we finally did get to play games, one of the main ones that really jumped out at me was it's a VR game, which I'm a little bummed. You may have gotten to check it out because we split off and roamed on our own. Did you check out Kung Fu Shadow Fist?
I watched people play that.
Oh, okay.
And it looked absolutely ridiculous.
It was fun as hell. It's this game for the Vive called Kung Fu Shadow Fist, and they just throw a ton of like crash test dummies at you. You get the controllers; these are your fists. You get the visor. That's your view, and then you literally just have to just fight them all. And that's it. There's no mission. There's no sense of mission. You move to this part of the map, they come at you, you fight them. You move to this part of the map, they come at you, you fight them. You get on a train, you're in an enclosed space now, and they're just coming at you. And the game, when you quote unquote die, you don't like fall or anything. It keeps it like real old school. You die when they get that final hit in, and it freezes for a second when you die. So it's like you won't really know what hit you because it's pretty much like a VR crowd battle game.
Yeah.
And when you quote unquote die, and this happened to be a bunch, it's like I'm fighting off a bunch of guys. I think I'm doing good. I'm throwing haymakers and stuff, and you get tired as hell in like fast. And then it's like, why the hell did it stop? What's going on? And you turn around, and like one dude behind you has his fist like right in your face, and it freezes right there. Like, this is the guy that clocked you and took you out, punched you in the back of the head. So it's like you have to be aware. It's like it'll go from nothing to just you fighting the gang. And I don't know why that was so fun. If that was any other like gaming style, if that was like a platform game, it's like being in a final fight. You're like, why the hell are 9 guys coming at me at once from all angles? I can't keep up with this. Apparently, being in the middle of that in VR and just like swinging wildly and seeing them fall over and stuff is fun. I enjoyed the short time
for the people watching a person playing because the person playing looks like. Well, they look like an idiot, just swinging their hands all over the place, going.
Yeah,
it's like they're trying to like do like Mrs. Miyagi wax on, wax off, but like
making noises
on crack. They're shaking their hands like they have pom poms. They're like shaking pom poms at the air all over the place. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, I can't imagine how I was
Hilarious.
looking. Now when I got up there, because the dude did try to. He's like, you're press. I know you let me bring you up because we do have a line of people waiting, but I want to make sure you at least get a sense to see it. And try to have my back. The problem is he's trying to move some like 10-year-old kid that was next in line out the way. He's like, no. We got to let this grown ass man go. Sorry, little Timmy. You're like, no, don't do that. No, you go ahead, little boy. You go right up ahead. Like,
did he old school palm his face like in old school? He palmed his face.
No. He was just doing the on his chest. Move along, son. Move along. And I'm like, don't do that. And here's why I messed up.
Did you have as that Dodo?
No.
As you walking up.
Here's what happened. I'm like, what? How you gonna move this little kid? No, here, little boy. Let me help you up, and you get a taste of this gaming goodness. I know you've been waiting a while.
Is that what happened?
And so that's what happened. And then I'm like, and then while they're putting the thing on him, and he's like, yeah, Pat, that kid's been on like 6 times already. We won. I'm just like, what? You couldn't tell me this like 10 seconds ago. He's already got like the visor on, and they're starting.
I saw that kid. I didn't see when you were there, but I saw that kid.
You saw that little
he was
punk
the one with the pom pom. I'm just shaking his hand.
Yeah,
all
this
over
little
the place.
weirdo over there. Here I am thinking, there's this poor little boy's been waiting. Please, sir, can I play this game? And nah,
like
man.
he's Tiny Tim, but he's
really like
friggin' Chucky.
Yeah, friggin' Junior from Problem Child and stuff.
Yeah,
but the game was fun. That was the highlight of my day.
That's not a problem
we went
for
down
you, though.
to-
That was a problem of the presenters not having an extra set to show off.
No, true. They had a fun game. If they had 2 or 3 vibes, I understand the equipment is expensive, but when you have a game like that, like I would buy this thing.
Invest it.
I don't know how much longevity it would have, but like if they had more than one set, they could have gotten a lot more people playing, a lot more coverage,
It's not
and
just
they would
them,
have
though,
blown
right?
everyone else. Yeah,
It was
a lot of people had.
Almost every other booth didn't have additional. They only had like 1 demo unit or maybe 2 demo units, and they didn't have anything reserved for press or anything like that.
So it's the Boston Festival Indie Games, and we mentioned on the announcement that this is possibly the last because they made they dropped a pretty big bomb on us. It's no longer just the Boston Festival Indie Games. They've done so well in the past few years that from now on it will just be the FIG, the Festival of Indie Games. And they used this year as an example where a lot of companies that were there came from not just Boston, not just Massachusetts, not just the Northeast even, so people are coming in from other places. They're traveling for this event itself. So it's gotten that big where they're rebranding, and it will now be the FIG, the Festival of Indie Games from now on. New logo and everything. So we look forward to seeing them step their game up, get some new companies in, and hopefully do big things in the future.
I'm going to PAX. Forget all that.
All right, and on that note, this has been the Geek Down here on WMF Radio. Check us out at geek-down.com. Hopefully you're checking us out. You're following us on Facebook and on Twitter. If you're not, get on that. We're easy to find on Twitter, The Geek Down. On Facebook, The Geek Down. Also, we're on SoundCloud. We're on YouTube. You can subscribe to us on iTunes. All over the sucker.
You got that, P. Nice.
And if you heard anything on the show you want to chime in on, hit us up at geekdownradio@gmail.com or just go to the site geek-down.com. In the About section, you can get all the links to all our good stuff and keep up with the latest and greatest from this show. Until then, we will catch you all next time. Same bat time, same bat channel potentially. Until then, be excellent to each other. Peace.